Thank you very much, Esther, for that introduction. And it was a wonderful session listening to Daniel and and the first speaker. I basically sat through it, learned a lot. And before I go on, I'd like to thank Samuel for bringing me on ILC. Samuel reached out to me, code on LinkedIn, and since then we've had personal interaction. We're communicating over email and talking on a call sometimes. And I think he's going to be visiting my city, Toronto, next month. So I'm looking forward to that. Nice to meet all of you here, and I'm really excited to chat. I know I have 20 minutes. So what I'm going to do today, this morning, is basically, my goal here is to basically inspire you to strike a chord, because I know that there's a lot of deposition in young people um, that just need some sort of awakening, because I've been through that path as well. And so anytime I get the opportunity to speak to young people, I'm very excited, because it is an opportunity to make somebody take the next step that would actually gravitate them towards what they ought to do. Um, but the first thing I like to do is I'll first like to deconstruct the structure of what perceived success is. And the reason I want to do that is because I know that there's a lot of people here who are coming from different backgrounds and who do not have exactly the same abilities. And so it is very easy for us to start thinking about successful people, or people who are, evidently doing well, as people who actually tick the boxes at all times. So I'm going to start with my failure stories and not my success stories. You guys already saw the citation. And in the course of my conversation with you guys, I like to tell narratives a lot, and stories, because people always remember stories. You might not remember the color of my shirt after today, but you're going to remember the story that I told you. So I'll start with my failure story. So at the age of 9, I lost my sister. I call it my failure story because it's a loss. It's not something I put effort into and I was not able to rescue. But I lost my sister. She had passed on because she had typhoid fever. I was just 9 years old. So for me, that was one of the very first big blows of life to me. Also, I grew up in a one-bedroom apartment in Iwaya, Lagos, with the rest of my 5 siblings and my mom. And this is just to say that 11 months after my sister died, my father died as well. So we were all clustered in a one-room apartment in Lagos State, in Iwaya, Lagos State. And we didn't live there for 3 months. We lived there for 12 years. So I grew up in that kind of environment. And the first jam that I wrote, I was in SS3. I had 196. I didn't even get up to 200. I had 196. And although in my work, I turned out to be the best science student, but I had a D7 in math. So think about somebody that had an A1 in physics, chemistry, biology, and then in math, you had a D7. And, I think in SS3, I won the best debater in Lagos State. But I've actually walked into several rooms where I stuttered and I struggled to talk. All right. So why did I have to tell you all of these things? It is because I want you to have the true perception of what success is. Success is not a linear curve. When we tell the story of success, it is easy to start thinking about somebody doing this, that. Oh, this guy made a first class. He has a PhD. He has this, he has that, and that's why he's successful. No, success is not a linear curve. And you can actually be in the center of success and be experiencing some sort of failure in one aspect of your life or the other. This is why you see somebody who is running an incredibly successful company having a divorce. or somebody who is a pastor and leading, a strong spiritual ministry, not settling his finance, not having great finances. So success is not linear. And so at every point in time in our lives, we must understand that there are things that are going to buffet us. There are things that are going to be thorns in our roses. The reason we have those things is so that we continually gravitate towards a higher goal. All right. So that's the first thing I want to do. Deconstruct what success is. So I introduced myself very briefly. You guys already read my citation. Currently, what I'm doing is I started a startup here in the US. I'm primarily based in Canada, but today I'm speaking to you from Houston, Texas, and I'm really excited. I flew into Houston yesterday to support my best friend, who is a musical performance artist. He's a violinist, and he sold out a 1,000 capacity hall, and he's performing today. The whole of Houston is coming there, so super excited. And my heart is super elated because I literally watched him grow. 20 years ago, we were both in Iwaya, playing soccer on the street, and he was learning violin. And today he's a superstar. Some of you might know him because he's quite a celebrity now. Demola the violinist, that's his name. So I'm super excited about that. I'm here to support him, calling from his apartment here in Houston. So what I do, I moved from Nigeria in 2015 to Canada for my PhD. I had moved to do my PhD because, like I said, when I was 9, my sister had died. She died of typhoid fever. That experience actually led me to study microbiology because I really wanted to understand the concept of disease. Why will somebody get sick? And if somebody gets sick, what are the different processes that keep the person sick? And why would a drug not cure somebody? So that led me to study microbiology in university, and then I went on to do medical microbiology. And in 2015, I got a full funded scholarship to Canada to study molecular genetics at the University of Toronto. Now, at University of Toronto, I have the opportunity to reconcile with my past because the project that I was doing was I needed to develop new tools that could target drug-resistant bacteria, one of which killed my sister. And so at the end of that PhD, I developed new ways that you could develop, entities like drugs that could target a bacteria. The bacteria develops some sort of resistance. Now, coming out of my PhD, or while I was in my PhD, one of the very first questions I asked myself was, what do I want to do after now? And this fits in so nicely to the conversation for today. What do I want to do after now? Because I had spent 10 years in the lab. My bachelor's, I did some research work. My master's, I did some research work. And I was a university lecturer at the University of Nigeria for 2.5 years before I moved to Canada. So I was already doing a lot of research. But I wanted to answer a question of higher calling. What was I made for? And this is why events like this are very crucial, because this is a question that you're going to keep asking yourself. You will keep asking yourself. You will not stop. Because every single time you get into a new phase of your life, you're required to ask yourself that question. I knew that the idea of me wanting to be a professor was not appealing to me anymore because I wanted to do something outside the confines of the academic environment. I'm a translational scientist. When I'm doing work in the lab, what I always think about is how can I develop this research into a product, or how can I make this thing something that somebody on the bedside can use? How can I use that expertise, that skill set that I have in the laboratory, and how can I develop that into a product? And so I started scouring through different things that I could do. And I figured that the only thing I could do was to build a company. But of course, building a company is hard. It's probably the hardest thing you're going to do on this planet. It is really, really, really hard. And so, but I asked myself, why do you want to build a company? Well, before I asked why I wanted to build a company, I said, what do you want to do? Then I came up with 3 things I actually wanted to do. 3 things. And these 3 things guided every single decision that I made from the third year of my PhD, which was in 2018 to date. One, I knew I wanted to create value. Two, I knew I wanted to create opportunities for other people. And three, I knew I wanted to create wealth. Those three things. When I figured those three things out, it was very easy for me to know that what I needed to do was to start a company. Because I knew that if I stayed in academia, if I became a professor, yeah, I would create value. Yeah, maybe I'll create some opportunities for people, but not in the magnitude that I want, and definitely not create the kind of wealth that I was thinking about. I knew that if I went to work in the industry, maybe biopharma, yeah, I'll create value. But as an employee, like, you can't really create as many opportunities, and we can't really create wealth, the kind of wealth I was thinking about. If I did a government job, I'll create value, I won't create opportunity, and I will not create wealth. So it made sense. Go to the hard thing. But the problem with building a company is that there are a lot of things that are involved. It's like, yeah, you might have an idea, but you want to be sure that you're solving a real pain point. And if you're solving a real pain point, you want to be sure that people are willing to pay for them. And if people are willing to pay for them, you want to make sure that it's not enough to have revenue. Are you profitable? And even if you're profitable, what's your margin of profitability? And even at that, are you able to attract investors? So coming out of my PhD, in the Q1 of 2022, things were rounding off already, and I was stuck in that limbo. So this is where my turnaround story started. I was getting into a new phase of my life. Out of PhD and academia that I had been in since 2007, 15 years later, I was coming out. Now I needed to face my own real world. I remember speaking to my partner, and I was telling her that I wanted to start a company. And the first question she asked me was, "Are you crazy?" She asked me that question because I was in the final stage of an interview with a top consulting firm, and the pay was good. And she said, "You're at the final lap. You're going to make it. You're going to get this money. And we're going to be fine in this house." And so one of the things with people who are disruptive is they are atypical. Founding a company is not for everybody. They are atypical. And so I met my co-founder. The story with my co-founder has really shaped my life so much that I think that anybody who wants to do something big needs a partner in business, especially in the business space. You need a strong partner. So when we got to this point, the three things I wanted to figure out was, how do we raise money? How do we start this company in the first place? Then we went to work. My co-founder and I went to work. We started putting ideas to people. We started applying to different accelerator programs. Now, what do we do in my company? Let me take you back to that. So we are trying to demystify what's happening in the human large intestine. And how do I know this? Because I have a PhD in bacterial genetics. It is that we know that the different types of bugs and bacteria that are in your gut that are affecting the way you feel. They're affecting your digestive health, but not just your digestive health, not just constipation or diarrhea or IBS, but they're also affecting, your mood. They contribute to depression, they contribute to anxiety. So what I wanted to do was I wanted to build a tool that could help medical providers to actually identify those different things in the human gut that could make them better understand why people were having the symptoms they were having. We put all that idea together, and then we tried to start building a team. We built our first core team. I brought an AI engineer, I brought a bioinformatician with myself and my co-founder. I built this core team. And the next thing was we needed money to move on. And so what I said to myself was, we are going to chase after funding, but there is no way I can do this full time if I'm not sure that this is going to bring us money. And so what I thought about was, how do we get money? We got into an accelerator program in New York. So I left everything I was in Toronto, and I flew down to New York, and I lived there for 3 months with my co-founder. For 3 months, I was building the product. I was listening to investors. I was listening to mentors. I was connecting with people. I was talking to them. And that was how we raised our first $500,000. When I raised our first $500,000, I said, okay, yes, I think we're there now. I think we're in business. Today, we've raised over $1 million. We've built a team across different continents, Nigeria, Canada, and the US primarily. But there are 3 things I've learned in this past 1 year, and I'm still learning. We've been around for 1 year and 6 months. 1, there are 3 things you must delight in when you're building a company. Esther, please tell me when it's 5 minutes to the time. 3 things you must delight in. 3 things. 1, you must delight in the work itself. So you want to make sure that this thing, this product, or this job, or this startup, or this company you want to build is something that you actually truly delight in. You must love it. Because most of the time, things will go wrong. I didn't say some of the time. Most of the time, things will be difficult. And so if you're somebody who is disruptive in the way you think, you must not just be passionate about this. You must be engulfed, completely engulfed and sold out to that cause. And that's what I did. That's why I left a $150,000 job for this. And I said I was going to do this, and I was going to come out on the other side. I didn't care if I was going to come out unscathed. If I was unmarried, I probably would have just gone and done it. But because I had people depending on me, I said, okay, how do I cushion this effect? And that was how I went on to raise money to start the company. So you must love it. You must ask yourself very key questions. Am I solving a real pain point? You don't build a company because the product is cool and then people are going to get to love it. No. You go out there, you identify a problem, and then you build the product from the problem. And so you must love the work. You must understand that this thing is really, really, really hard. And then you must ask yourself the question, do I have the right skill sets to address this problem? Because while you're going through the journey, you're going to be like a fish on a tree. It's hard enough, really, really hard enough. So you must ask yourself very fundamental questions. And this is the time to be true to yourself. This is not the time to exaggerate anything. If you know you're not good at something, you must come to terms with it. Because if you don't, you will not go and learn how to do it. And I think that this is the part where lots of young people don't want to put in the work. People don't want to put in the work. I think one of the reasons is also because a lot of people that we look up to, a lot of the people that we look up to are people who, they do some sort of things and then they arrive at wealth and then we want to be like them. But if you actually want to make true lasting impact, you have to put in the work. So you must delight in work. You must love it. You must be passionate about it. Like I said, I'm in my best friend's house. He's a violinist. His house, everything about his house is music. Thank you, Scott. Everything about his house is music. Every single thing. He has a recording studio here. He has a mic here. He has everything. That is how you know people who are sold out to things. You can't do this part-time. No. You have to be completely given to it. The second thing you must very much have delight in is relationships. The first $500,000 that we raised for my company was, to be honest, all of over $1 million that we raised was based on relationships. A lot of times people will not give you money because, Yeah, some people will give you money because you're building a good product, but people will first give you money because they believe in you. It's because they believe in you. It's because they see something in you that will make them invest $100,000, $50,000, even no matter how much it is. People must trust you. And how do you get them to that point? It is relationships. I have to learn to build them. Relationship with your investors, relationship with your customers. It is because of them that you're in business. Relationship with your strategic partners, relationship with your employees. I take this one very seriously. We have 10 employees. And I make sure that I talk to every single person individually every week. I don't mean every month, every single week. I book a time and I talk to them. I want to know what's going on in your life. I want to know what your motivation about the company is. I want to know what inspires you. I want to know what the management needs to do to make things better. You have some employees in Nigeria. I don't think there is any startup that pays their employees better than us in Nigeria. We want to cater not just to your mental well-being, to your pocket, to your family, because I understand that if you are hungry, you cannot do the job well. But I want you to do the job well. I don't want you to think about anything else. But beyond that, I want to see through you, and I want you to look at me and see yourself through me. That is the same way my co-founder takes it. The customers, I know a lot of businesses say, oh, customers you can't go wrong with customers. You can't go wrong with employees either. I was interviewing a candidate, I think 8-9 days ago, who is applying for a contract role in the company, and incredibly brilliant guy. But 10 minutes into the interview, I knew we're not going to take it. What happened for the next 20 minutes did not matter to me. He was impressive. He answered his questions really well, but I knew he did not fit into the work culture because he had challenged he had derogatorily challenged, one of the interviewers. And I thought maybe he did that because she was a woman. I said, this person is not going to have a place. So relationships matter. So look at me, I'm looking beyond how good you are. I'd rather have somebody who's 70% good, 100% fits into the culture, than somebody who's 1,000% good and wouldn't fit into the culture. So relationships really, 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 really matter. And the relationship with your co-founder matters so much. Personally, apart from my wife, I don't think there's anybody I talk to half as much as my co-founder now, because they are like your business life partner. So that matters really well. If you don't like them, don't build a business with them. I know a lot of people say, oh, it's just about the business. That's not true, in my opinion. If you don't like them, don't build a business with them. And lastly, you must delight in suffering. I think that this is the most important, actually. I've talked about delighting in the work, delighting in relationships. You must delight in the suffering. You must delight in the suffering because what you're doing is hard. Building a company is the hardest thing you do on the planet. I thought doing a PhD would be hard, but the suffering every single day. Before you have a product, you would actually think that you'll be super ecstatic when you build the product. Okay, when you build the product, then you start thinking about adoption, like the people even like this product. And then you get all the feedback, and you're like, I built this product, I thought it was great. There will be very, very difficult times. 2022, 2023, probably the most difficult times for startups to raise money. A lot of companies are dying. I have a friend who raised $3 million in 2020. She packed up literally in April of this year. The company gone, $3 million gone. We have people who raised $6-7 million 4 or 5 years ago. They've gone out the wrong way. They packed their shop. It's hard. It's really, really hard. It's not easy. So you must delight in the suffering, the twists and turns. You must have grit and character. You must have grit and character. So for every single person on this call who wants to do something extraordinary, I told you about my failure stories because I know that a lot of you here are probably experiencing some failures in your life. But I want you to know that we all do. A lot of you here are not from privileged backgrounds. Most people are not from privileged backgrounds. There are much fewer comfortable and rich people than there are people who are poor. So you must have this mindset. You must delight in suffering. The road is not easy. All right. And also for those of us who are already experiencing incredible success, your past and your present might be great, but you have to understand that they're nothing compared to the future that you're going to build if you incorporate all these characters. All right. I think I'll stop there for the sake of time. It's good having this conversation with you guys. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Sir Mr. Chidozie. That was so powerful. That was so powerful. Please, if you have questions, please can we drop it in the comment section. If as we appreciate our speaker, please let's appreciate him. Let's appreciate him. Please, if we have our questions, let's drop them. He is so packed even to answer our questions. For me, my note is full. My note is full. Oh my God. If you want to know something, you must delight in it. If you really want to go for something, then he spoke on relationships. That one cannot be overemphasized. Relationship. Then you must delight in suffering. The road will not be smooth. Like it says, success is not a linear curve. The road will not be smooth. So please, let's drop our questions. If you have questions for Mr. Chidozie, he has really done so great. And I thank you so much, sir. God bless you. Thank you for impacting us. How can we reach out to you, sir? I think the technical team we also drop is the LinkedIn profile so that we can connect him in case you have any questions or maybe you want to reach out to him. Thank you so much, sir. That was so great. Let's appreciate our speaker. Let's appreciate him. Thank you, sir. It was a wonderful session with you. Thank
you
you
for having me. Appreciate that.
Sir. So we'll still be receiving more questions. Amazing session. Hope this it's on record. I think our technical team is working on that. That was a power pack section. Someone say you have released so many heart-piercing truths. Like myself, I've been so blessed. Like someone said, I am currently going through the most confusing phase of my life. I have to choose between marriage, academic, and starting off my own company. I'm a young professional civil engineer with a master's degree in civil engineering. I am doubled as a junior lecturer at the University of Sweden. But deep down, I know I want to start up my own company. Okay, this is the clarity session for somebody. He said, thank you for this session. Wow. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for releasing this. I mean, making yourself valuable when you said you wanted to impact life with values, with opportunities. This is the means you are so impacting lives with this. Thank you so much, sir. Someone has gotten a clarity on how they should go about starting up their own company. Thank you, sir. So someone is asking, what is your management style? And said values, opportunities, wealth. Yes, and he mentioned relationship too. Thank you, sir. So we'll just take that question so we can go to our next speaker because of our time. So someone is asking that what is your management style? We'll just take that question. Thank you very much, sir.
My management style, I think that's an interesting question. A little bit ambiguous, but really interesting. So personally, I like to have, because we have a small company now, it's a company of like 10 people. So it gives me the opportunity to be very personal with my employees. And I think that is really powerful because, like one of my employees is going on maternity leave now in 2 weeks. And, the whole company is supporting her and we are right behind her. These are the things people are going to remember. how personal you were with them. It's beyond just the work. We want to know what's happening in your life and how we can support you. Because if you support people, they will stick out their heads for you. There is no one single employee that I do not trust to go above and beyond for me, because we know that the management will go above and beyond for them. So my management style is being very personal with employees, listening to them and making sure that they feel seen, because they are seen and heard, and making them understand that without them, the company would not run. I'm not a back-end engineer, I'm not a front-end engineer. If I were, I would not need to employ somebody. It's because they have something I do not have. So they are as important as I am. So that's how I think about it.
Wow, that's so perfect. Thank you so much, sir, for giving clarity even to the question. Thank you so much. Please, can we give a round of let's just appreciate him, please. This is someone that released virtue into us, and people are paying so much to get this wealth of knowledge that you just got by just registering. So please, let's appreciate him, even in our hearts. We say a word of prayer to him. Thank you for releasing virtue, sir. God bless you. Thank you for impacting lives.